Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Federal Bank Limited Q1 FY22 earnings conference. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anand Chugh, Head Investor Relations, Federal Bank. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Nirav. Very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us for the quarterly earnings call. I hope and pray that you and your near and dear ones are safe in this challenging environment. And just as 92% of our eligible employees have taken at least one shot of the vaccine, believe all of you would have also played your part in this fight against COVID. Let me begin with the latest development. Our board has today approved issuance of shares to IFC Group to an extent of 4.99% of bank's paid-up capital, and I use this opportunity to welcome IFC as a significant shareholder of the bank. The addition of this marquee name to the list of our prominent shareholders reinforces the trust and confidence reposed by IFC Group on the bank and its management. The infusion of quality capital further strengthens Tier 1 and overall CRAR of the bank. We are pleased and encouraged that RBI, as well ahead of the due date, confirmed the extension of term for our MD and CEO for 3 years, and we believe this approval gives us stability and continuity at the top, that too at the time when the economy is passing through one of its toughest phases. Our digital and retail teams were on overdrive as their hard work over the past several months started seeing the light of the day. We launched our own credit card and opened it up for employees and existing to bank customers. The onboarding process for the same is simple and digital, and it consists of just a few clicks. Tri and Jupiter, our neo-banking partners, launched their services and initial response has been encouraging. We also partnered with DigiVriddhi and Amul to digitize farmer milk payment life cycle that aims to cover base of 36 lakh farmers. We were adjudged as the best private sector bank by Outlook Money. Also, we rank high in Employee Satisfaction Index as Great Places to Work Institute ranked us as 47th best workplace in the country. Coming to financial performance of Q1 FY22, the quarter was marked by onslaught of Wave 2 and its lethal impact. Despite the turbulent external environment, we were able to report steady performance as we saw new highs being achieved on the front of operational profit and CASA percentage. We were able to largely hold on and maintain collection efficiency, asset quality, and provision coverage ratio. I'm sure you would have got a chance to look at the numbers and investor deck. The entire senior team is on the call and would be happy to respond to any query or question that you may have. With this, I'd like to hand over the mic to Shyam for his opening comments. Over to Shyam.
Thanks, Anand, and good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody is safe and all going well. I'm not going to elaborate too much. I think Anand has mostly spoken of the headline items. I do want to take this opportunity to both say thank you and welcome our friends from IFC. I believe this is a good advertisement for Federal Bank's commitments to green, Federal Bank's focus around getting in marquee investors. So thank you very much to IFC and welcome to our investor base. The quarter, if we thought Q1 last year was tough and we were tested, I do believe it looks like a trailer because this year certainly April, May took us all by storm. Nobody was spared. We did see a lot of our employees and their families having impact of one form or the other. We in fact did lose some employees, and well over 2,000 employees over the period have had unfortunately been affected by COVID. We did lose 12 employees, but I am greatly encouraged that the team has rallied around. Any amount of preparation was never enough. It's only the attitude that matters, and I am quite encouraged that people have actually made their best possible effort. And all branch-related activity or field-related activity, which meant going into the branches, meeting customers, were affected for a greater part of this quarter. No surprise, everybody knows that. And it did have an impact. I do think people rallied around quite nicely in June to recover lost ground. The quarter, like Anand mentioned, did see a very strong performance by our treasury team on the back of being able to sort of do some good work on the bond market side, and that has given us strong cover, which we quite prudently, sensibly to ensure that we continue to remain well provisioned. The portfolio, while held out well, did see challenges in pockets and geographies where accessibility was modest or literally stopped in some instances. And we took some calls around our gold loan business to make sure that the customers who were already sort of impacted by the environment were not subject to even more stress. So for the first time in all our life, we saw some slippages or restructuring in gold, but both of which I believe it's only a matter of time before it cures itself. So, but prudently, we made very significant provisions for that as well. Anand did mention about some of our digital forays. I've mentioned for long, I see digital not just as sort of a technology-led, but it's the way of work, and it can potentially give a bank like us extreme reach. And some of these partnerships that we're working with fintech can open up lakhs of customer opportunities and cross-sell opportunities, all of which we are acutely focused on. And I think as the base builds and our analytical capabilities are getting better every passing day, this cross-sell opportunities only materially improve. Even through this pandemic, the one thing that I'm greatly excited by is we built about a 2,000 crore personal loan book, all of it digitally originated and from our existing client base, not new to bank. Through this period, they've held out well. In fact, it has marginal or almost no slippages. So evidently the choice is good, the analytics is good, the ability to keep the best customers going is good. So I am encouraged that as we get the credit card opportunities, which unfortunately is temporarily on hold for the MasterCard issue, as I mentioned in the last call, our credit card is largely going to be initial period existing to bank, digitally capable, digitally originated. I do see that looking like a nice opportunity as things open up, and we are making a plan B come alive very soon. So let me just say that Q1, in the face of quite challenging environment, we did brave quite well. The environment is beginning to look better, not across the country. Between weather and COVID, there seems to be one challenge or the other at any point in time, but I'm hopeful that it's something that's now become par for the course, and our teams are both adjusted to the new reality and are able to cross over this challenge. Portfolio quality, while it held up, there have been pockets of challenges, and our collection efforts are sort of getting redoubled as things open up. The ability to meet clients and have conversations and recover is improving. And on the overall corporate book, mercifully, all through this period, we've had no significant challenge on the corporate side. So more than half of the book is well sealed. So it's the small business banking, select commercial banking customers who are going through the challenges, and between an array of solutions that we have, we should be able to navigate through and ensure that hopefully the rest of the financial year turns out pretty decent. So let me just pause here and say that we are hopeful of a reasonably decent year with the worst being over. I'm assuming wave 3 doesn't become anything like what we've faced, and should that hold, we should be able to repeat our FY21 kind of outlook or better. So let me just pause here and open up for questions. As Anand mentioned, our entire senior team is here. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touch-tone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Mahrukh Adajania from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, congratulations on your reappointment, sir. So my first question is, if at all you could give us a breakdown on your home loan slippage. Of course, you've given extensive disclosures, but if at all you could share that number. Slippage in home loans.
You mean off the retail, how much is home loan?
Yes.
Is the question?
Yes,
Is that the
yes.
question? I would think about half of it would be home loan, Maruk. Exact number I won't have, but roughly about half of it, 60% will be home loan. Other than that is LAP.
Okay, got it. And the other question is in terms of gold loans, what is the LTV on gold loans and how do you think these get resolved? Because most of the gold loans, especially that were taken last year, would have been by those customers who wouldn't have got other unsecured loans. Would that be correct?
Our gold loan book between restructured and slippage is 275 crores, 225 crores on restructured and 50 crores on the slippage. Of this 275 crores, if I remember right, about 40-50 crores is the only one which is about 93% LTV. So it's really very marginal, Maruk.
Sir, Babu here to supplement LTV, our book LTV is only 74.
Yeah, no, I was narrowing down to her question, but yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. And would you have any buffer provisioning now?
So we have only two types of provisioning, credit provision or standard asset provision. Standard asset provision, we made accounts that were in SMA2 or which were challenged and which needed help. They have become restructured, and all restructured we made 15% provision.
Got it. And what about NII reversals? What was that for the quarter?
65 crores.
And just one last question. In terms of your capital issuance, you've taken board approval for an issue. I'm not talking about the private placement that happened today, but otherwise you have a board approval. So will you be raising as much, or that's just the outer limit?
I'm sure you've been tracking us. Last year also we had a similar number. And over my 10-11 years, the only time we raised was a QIP 4 years back. We are very stingy and prudent about our capital allocation and usage. We've just got an enabling resolution, as we did last year. Very unlikely we will go for an issuance in a hurry, and if we do, we'll be calibrated to the requirement. But yeah, we do have an approval on hand.
Got it. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jay Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity, and congratulations on good set of numbers and enhanced disclosure, sir. First question is, sir, on restructuring. So restructuring 2.0, if you can, you have given the outstanding number, but if you can bifurcate how much was restructuring 1.0 and 2.0, or just the balance is the 2.0 versus last quarter?
Yeah, about 850 crores is this quarter's restructuring.
Sure. And there was no balance increase in the previous restructuring, right?
Very marginal,
Okay.
Chief.
Sure, sir. Second question on your slippages, and any range for the, we still have three months for this current window in restructuring. Any sense, sir, and how much more could come restructuring proposal?
We had said at the beginning of in April, May 16th when we did our results, we thought about 1% of the book. Like last time was 1%, we said this year also maybe 1.2%. I'm thinking that it will be around the same thing. 850 has been done. Another 400 crores maybe the restructuring that will come up in this quarter.
Sure, sir. And secondly, on slippages, sir, I think in your opening remarks you had mentioned that things have looking better incrementally. So safe to say that assuming no third wave, as you said in your opening comment, is that if it is not, if it does not become unmanageable, then the slippages would have already peaked in this quarter. Would that be a right statement, or how would you look at the slippages trajectory?
I'll only draw on the following, Chief Mundra, is that last two financial years, our slippages are roughly about 1,800 crores each year. Right, this financial year should be around that or plus minus another 10%.
Sure, sir. And last question from my side is, sir, you have given a lot of details on fintech, and of course your annual report also talks about very improved digital capability. Any thoughts on, how does, numbers perspective, when do we see this translating into A, either higher growth, or B, higher fee, or C, higher cost efficiency? Any qualitative comments around those, sir? Thank you.
No, I think all of that are the reason we are doing these, and to be relevant and in the, really at the forefront. We are seeing that. We are seeing that happen. Our non-people cost has been flattish or dropping. And we have not added branches, but we are growing quite smartly. And these are proof points of the digital capabilities of the bank. And in the face of very dominant names, we are either top 1-2 players in the universally accepted MeitY scorecard. So on every count, our capabilities is matching or rivaling or sometimes better than many. And we don't want to let steam on that. And in terms of translating into numbers, you're seeing it happen, right? Our cost income, there's one stubborn part of our cost, which unfortunately is not entirely in our hands. And I know nobody likes to hear that, but it is the truth, is the pensioning related. If you sniff that out, our efficiencies are improving every quarter.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Agrawal from Motilal Oswal Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and congratulations, sir, on the extension of the term. Few questions, sir. Firstly, on the restructuring the corporate segment, if you can give some on to the number of accounts that you have restructured in therein, and how the LTVs have been, and what is your sense on the, say, LGDs in the corporate accounts that you have restructured versus the, say, bad loans in the segment?
In the corporate, there's only 1 or 2 accounts, Chief. I think these are probably 2 accounts. Babu, was that right?
Yeah, in RF2 there is no restructuring. It was in RF1 only what you referred.
Yeah.
Okay, and in commercial banking?
Restructuring in commercial banking is about totally 275 crores. This quarter would be about 100 crores, Babu?
Yeah, this quarter commercial banking it is only 64.
Okay.
Okay, sir. And sir, when you say that this year can still be better discounting COVID-free, but how do you read the situation in Kerala? Because we are seeing high COVID cases there. How worried does that make you when you look forward and project things for FY22?
Oh, we've long said that we are as India as anybody else. That Kerala is one geography where we have material presence, but that's not in any way hampering our overall activities. Yes, there are certain things that will get affected, but we've got offsets. And despite Kerala's number of instances, the ability to sort of address is improving. It's not that it totally disappeared, but ability to address is improving. People are braving it. And must remind ourselves that our strongest suite in Kerala is our liability franchise, right? For 5-6 years, we've been quite cautious about our credit growth in Kerala. So the book that we have is quite vintage and well seasoned.
Okay. And lastly, sir, if you can give some details on the recoveries from the return of accounts, strong number.
This quarter was exceptional because we had one strong recovery on a return of account. Public, everybody knows Kingfisher, so that's the only thing.
Okay, sure. Thanks so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Renish Patel from ICICI. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, and congrats on a great set of numbers. So just one clarification on the collection side.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I request you to speak a little louder?
Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, congrats on a great set of numbers. Sir, just 2 things. So one on the collection side. Because of lockdown, we have raised demand for April and May, or how is it, sir?
Babu, you want to go?
Yes, sir. Yes. There was demand and we collected, and our collection efficiency stands at par maybe not the same level that were in March and December. Now it is 95.2%. That is our collection efficiency. That was almost the same level in the previous quarter.
Okay. So
additionally, I would add that there was no moratorium as such, you know.
Yeah.
So there was no moratorium. So everything, you know, there was a demand certainly, you know, as per the IRAC norms also.
Got it. Okay. And sir, Shyam sir, now coming back to this fintech tie-ups, okay. So of course, you know, we have been tying up with the almost leader of the each segment. But initially, you know, who is going to bear the customer cost of acquisition? It is us or the partners?
We have a cost sharing and a revenue sharing model. And the model is not unique. I mean, it's not the same across every partner, depends partner to partner. But it's not a high cost model. The model is structured in such a way that the fintech carries the bigger part of the originating cost.
Got it, sir. And on this, again, on related to this BharatPe tie-up, okay, sir. So now here, what is the MDR cuts we get?
Shalini, you want to go?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. I'm here. Thanks. So I think on BharatPe, anyway, on the UPI transaction, the MDR is governed by NPCI, as you know. So, you know, depending on the value of the transaction, there is a certain level of MDR that we are supposed to, charge. And there is a sharing formula, therefore, that we have agreed with BharatPe on the basis of which we do it. But I think the broader point that needs to be made is, these are person-to-merchant payments being encouraged to bring up the entire digital landscape in the country. So the MDR piece is anyway governed by NPCI, and we have a sharing between ourselves. But I think the broader point I would like to make is the BharatPe relationship is designed in such a way that it gives us, it opens up the opportunities for access to a range of merchants across the length and breadth of the country, which we normally would not have had access to.
Okay. So, it is fair to assume that the escrow mechanism with us?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
So, for BharatPe, we will be managing the escrow account for them, or how is the arrangement?
There are different models that are in place depending on the kind of merchants that they onboard. So it's a varying kind of a model. Some merchants, there is an escrow with us. Some merchants, there is a account with another bank, and we are a pass-through. So it depends. It depends on the kind of a merchant, the geography. We've got varying arrangements in place, yeah, and all automated. We don't do any of this manually, yeah.
Got it. So just a last follow-up on this. So, Shyam sir, so of course, initially, I don't think so we'll be getting any revenues. So on, let's say, a cost-to-income metric, where do you see this partnership breaking even? Let's say 6 months, 8 months, 12 months.
I think the way we see these things, all these relationships are 3 elements of revenue. One is the incremental CASA that it will build up. Second is the increasing cross-sell that we can put up from this base. And the third is the new client base that we will keep adding, and therefore the franchise gets expanded. All of these are activities we are working on. Like I said, it's not incrementally cost. It doesn't throw big cost on us. Revenue depends on many things, right? The balance build and the cross-sell ability.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rakesh Kumar from Systematics Group. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Very much. Thank you.
Sir, the first question is with respect to PSLC, what we purchased this year, previous financial year of around 12,000 crore. So what was the total cost that we had to bear for that?
In last year?
Yes, sir.
Last year was 35 crores.
35 crores, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. And sir, this quarter we have seen there is a bit of a sequential decline in the card deposit number. So if we have to is it because of that the larger corporates clients are might be drifting away to the larger bank where the funding costs are low? Is that the reason? Because the competition for CA account is increasing day by day. So is that the reason, or is just a blip for a quarter?
I think there are many things on that. One is CA usually year-end is already, both customers also place a lot of CA on the banks. And then as the year goes on, they draw down. Second is there is going to be some shift in current account behavior courtesy RBI's mandate. So I do expect the CA to be more moderate at this point in time. I don't see CA exploding. But where we exited last year, for us to build back will be the challenge for the coming quarters. It will be a little more harder work than the past.
Got it, sir. And so thirdly, on this NR deposit, still, we have done quite good performance on that front. But just to understand that how the market share in the country and Kerala state has moved in the last 1 or 2 quarters.
Happily and thankfully, she's doing well. Even now, at least for us, our share of remittances is going up. The publicly last disclosed RBI number, we are at about 18.5% of remittances of India. And, that seems we're trending closer to 20% now. So even if the volume shrinks, we are gaining share.
And NR CASA, sir? NR CASA composition?
Yeah, I'm talking about NR CASA because NR term is usually much smaller. It comes as SA and then only shifts to term.
Got it. Thanks a lot, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ajit Kumar from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. So first, in the credit card business, how much delay we can expect in order to switch to Visa and then again bank start issuing new credit cards?
We think within 6 and 8 weeks, Ajit.
Okay, 6 to 8 weeks. And the second, on deposit side, if you look at our cost of deposit has further come down by 25 basis points in this quarter. And on the other side, if I look at your TD rate, that has remained broadly unchanged from past 5 to 6 months. So for how many more quarters do you expect this cost of deposit to further come down, mainly because of this lag impact of repricing, considering TD rate cut has probably bottomed out?
We may be at closer to the bottom of our overall cost of funds. I don't expect it to drop materially from here.
Okay. And sir, on the loan side, where will be your focus in terms of growth, considering gold loan, which used to be growing at a very higher rate, will now see moderation? Hello? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, I think we heard you. I don't know whether Shyam got disconnected. Shyam, are you there?
Shyam, sir, can you hear us?
I think I'll take that question then. I think the
areas. Sure, go ahead.
The areas as we have been earlier also sharing with our stakeholders is that we would be interested in increasing more of our business banking portfolio, retail, and definitely I think this credit card has been a temporary blip because of this banning of MasterCard or so. Otherwise, that was also one of the areas that we were focusing on parallelly with gold. And for your information, of late, in last couple of weeks or so, gold once again has started picking up. So it's not going to remain stable. Yeah, it was stagnant for almost 3 months, but now again it has started moving up.
Sorry, Shyam here, I'm back. But anyway, Ashutosh, I'm sure you have answered. I don't know what the question is, but I'm sure Ashutosh should have answered.
Question was, because now the gold is going to moderate or rather remain stagnant, which are the areas you would focus on, compensating for it, because that was high yielding sort of asset.
Yeah, okay.
And thank you, sir. So lastly, one just data quoting question. What is the updated number for ECLGS disbursement till now?
The same. This quarter, not much. 3,000 odd crores was the last quarter and same. I don't think it's changed much. Mohan or Ratish, would you know? But I think the number is consistent.
So nothing under 3.0 and 4.0?
No. Even if it is, it's very marginal. Very marginal.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kaushik Poddar from KB Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Shyam, this thing, just a minute, let me see the slide. The stressed book to total average assets has gone up to 2.24%, which is where Federal Bank was in third quarter 18. So, and this is basically because of the huge restructuring that has happened. So how do you see that your restructured books playing out? When do they become standard, in how many quarters?
Kaushik, it has the demand on these are in different quarters. Q2 is some, Q3, Q4, because the restructuring portfolio has inherent moratorium built in. So I think in the course of the next 12 months, this will start trending down. Now, whether this 2.24 goes back to the 1.08 in 12-18 months depends entirely on the recovery from here on. But at this point in time, very early indicators look very encouraging.
Sir, Babu here. To supplement on this, 14% of the restructured book was in demand in Q1, where we collected 95.5%. So we don't find any stress on collection, even though it is in the restructured book.
I think the initial signs are that the restructured book is faring quite well, because mainly it is secured. These are home loans. These are loan against property, LAP and all. So being secured book, even if there was some probability of default, that has been taken care of through moratorium or through restructuring. The loss given default, even otherwise, even after slipping and all, has been very low in these portfolios. So that is the reason, if you see, most of our restructured book is from retail home loan, retail LAP type of, categories or so. We don't have unsecured there, where the probability of default and loss given default both are high.
Yeah, I saw your portfolio of the restructured loans, and most of it seems to be secured.
And plus, now, additionally, just to add to your question, you said when will they turn standard? Actually, as per regulatory prescription, post restructuring they remain standard, so they don't slip.
But when will you take it to the standard asset? I mean, when will not they be appearing as restructured? They are standard asset.
Yeah.
Okay.
And till they exist on the book, they would be called restructured assets.
Okay. It's not that after a few quarters payment they become standard automatically.
Yes, sir. When the status, IRAC status slips to substandard, then you make it standard, and then you say out of this, substandard has been elevated to standard assets after the satisfactory performance. But that is there when the restructuring is done, wherein the status of the account slips. Here in these cases, status has not slipped.
So they will remain restructured till the time they repay the amount, or how does it work?
Yeah, restructured standard. They will remain restructured standard.
Oh, they will remain as restructured standard. Okay.
Yeah.
Till the time it is repaid or something of that sort.
Yes.
They go out of the book. Okay. And how do you see the NII growth playing out? And you, Shyam, you just commented that you don't see the the cost of fund not coming down. So in light of this, how do you see the NII growth playing out over the quarters?
Yeah, we had said this year between 315 and 320 would be our NIM range. We are at 350.
Okay.
As the year picks up and the slippages trend better, we expect that getting closer to 320.
So will the NII growth be more than your asset growth?
It will. Last 2-3 quarters, you saw it happen. This quarter, because of the higher reversal, that trended down. As we see that coming down and the credit growth pick up, and particularly with the higher margin businesses like gold and business banking, you'll start seeing this pick up again.
In this regard, I recollect you saying that you used to have some high cost deposit or something, and they were supposed to get wound down over the years or something. I mean, has that happened, or there is some scope of some relief from that side?
Part of it is already unwound. A large part of it is already unwound. I don't see material improvement in the cost of fund. Yeah, it could be a few basis points, but not material.
I would like to add here, though, cost of funds has bottomed out or closer to the bottom or so because of winding down of, high cost funds or so, or the earlier deposits which were contracted at a higher rate of interest, term deposits or so. But on the other hand, you will see even the yield on advances, that was, correcting or falling or was, more or less stagnant, would also start rising up. So NII would come out of that differential. So I don't think there is going to be any impact just because cost of funds has bottomed out, because so has the yield on advances.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But you are looking towards 3.2. That's what Shyam said.
Yeah, that's the NIM. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you see the cost? Do you see, you are not putting up any branches. So to that extent, of course, you are putting a lot of money in all this new technology and all the stuff. So how do you see the cost running, cost growth compared to NII growth?
We are seeing, like I mentioned, cost income, of course, this quarter is extremely flattering at 45%. We think the
right.
is getting close to 48%.
48. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Piyush from ICICI Direct. Please go ahead. Piyush, may I request you to unmute your line from your side and go ahead with your question?
You can go to the next. You can go to the next one, please.
We move to the next participant. The next question is from the line of Samir Bhise from Axis Capital Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Firstly, just wanted to understand what is the split between the existing NPL in housing and LAP. So if total retail NPL is roughly 1280 crores, how much of it would be housing and LAP?
Babu, would you have it offhand? I would think it would be 60-40 is my sense, but we can reconfirm that.
The question basically was, so if roughly half of it is housing and LAP, and if I look at roughly 1,300 crores of restructuring from these two books, the total stress seems to be roughly 7%. Is that a bit too high, or does it make you uncomfortable? Or
I would encourage you not to view restructuring equal to stress.
Okay.
That is not in our case. We've made the conscious call, the situation to help customers who may have challenges and who may need the comfort of paying in over an extended period of time. It's not that they've all run into a problem. I can reconfirm we are not using restructuring as a means to avoid NPA.
So fair enough. It is visible from slightly higher slippages. So I'm sure you guys have been prudent enough to take that call. But just going by a gross number of say 7-8%.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important you read it alongside the message Babu gave. 14% demand, 95.2% collection, which is the normal collection efficiency.
Fair enough. I would still probably take the numbers later offhand. Secondly, what is the yield on the corporate book?
Hasn't changed much, right? Would be in the same 8 point something. Harsh and Venkat, would that be the right number?
There was a 12 to 13 basis points reduction over Q4.
Okay. One final bit on the credit card piece. Any numbers of what proportion of the ETB customers have taken the card, and any sense on their profile, like age-wise or vintage-wise? Any sense there?
It's looking very good, but very early sample. We're getting close to 25,000 cards in 1 month, but it's early days.
But what does the pilot show? I'm sure some of these customers would actually already be credit card users, or maybe they would be old customers of the bank.
I don't know if we can draw much of a pattern. Building balances. If I extrapolate this, we will be the world's best credit card. I'm not even getting there. It's very early. At least 2 quarters, or 1 quarter we should see to see the traction. The first billing cycle is over for them.
Fair enough. This is helpful. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prakhar Agarwal from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Just couple of questions. First, on your SMA book, what would be the number of SMA book in terms of SMA 012? If you could just highlight that.
It's flattish to the last quarter. I don't know if we give specific numbers, but the SMA book is almost the same as last quarter at the end of June. At the end of July or 23rd of July, it's improved even further.
Okay. So last time we highlighted somewhere sub 5% level, so that broadly stays.
Yeah, it's there. It's there about. If you've said that, that's the same number. It improved slightly.
Okay. Secondly, in terms of FedFina, when I look at the performance.
This is SMA 012, huh?
Yeah, I got that. In terms of FedFina, when I look at the asset quality performance, there has been some hiccup in there. Where is this rise coming from? And what is your outlook on the business?
Two of their large commercial real estate, for them large, maybe like 5-8 crores kind of transaction. They have taken 2 transactions as an advance NPA. Their core book is still looking quite intact.
One has corrected in July, Shyam.
That's why I said 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially the large part of the rise is driven by these 2 accounts.
Yeah. In fact, it's only these 2 accounts. Otherwise, they're tracking quite well.
Growth
Actually, their book is faring quite well, barring these large, according to them, this particular portfolio, real estate portfolio was there, which they are gradually depleting, and basically it's no fresh underwriting is happening in this particular portfolio.
Not now, for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And any further capital infusion that is required in FedFina or any other services?
That was done recently in June, the last one.
We are not looking for at least next, say, 2 quarters, 3 quarters till we see how things pick up. They remain capitalized at this rate till March 22.
Perfect. And this last question, in terms of your trading gains that has happened this quarter, so probably would that be a result of change in the toggle between AFS, STM book that we are allowed to do once a year, or probably that exercise is still left?
No, that's the exercise.
See, that's normally done in the beginning of the year, and that exercise is done. If you compare these numbers with last year's numbers, more or less same, slightly less than last year, but almost, same range. Overall, other than, this bond, there had been other areas where the overall performance of the treasury had been quite good. So whether on the currency side or derivatives or, even equity, everywhere it has been much better than the earlier quarters.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That is it from my side.
Ashutosh has built a great successor there.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Murarka from HSBC. Please go ahead.
Abhishek from HSBC.
Yeah, good evening, sir, and congratulations for the extension in your tenure. So, couple of questions. One on these fintech tie-ups. So, can you sort of give some sense of the throughput you are getting in terms of number of retail accounts or retail SA accounts from these tie-ups, and maybe some sort of trend. Let's say a few months back, what were you getting and what are you getting now?
Normally, in the non-COVID time, we were doing about 3,500 new accounts a day.
Okay.
Normally, and good days 4,500. But in the COVID time, that has come down to about 2,500 or so, and our tie-ups are now beginning to kick in about another 1,000, 1,500 a day.
Okay. About 1,500 a day. Okay. And any charges?
We are looking at much higher as things stabilize. Are doing some very intelligent marketing. They do by invitation, so they're also building a demand.
And any targets? Let's say 1 year out, what is an annual number you intend to get to?
Shalini, he has a big agenda. Shalini, you want to talk about it?
I think it's very difficult to kind of, we've got some internal targets, obviously, that we've worked with the partners, etc. Let me just say that we expect this to be, a reasonably substantial portion, if I can couch it that way and keep it that way. I think give us a couple of quarters more and we'll be ready to kind of reveal a little more, yeah?
Sure. Thanks. And
I think the broad point is that I think I'll just add to what Shaman has said earlier also. The numbers are kicking in. Both our neo-banking partners on savings account are currently on a kind of waitlist approach rather than just open to all. So, and that's clearly because we want to calibrate the profile, they want to calibrate the profile, we want to calibrate the profile, etc. that is coming in. So we'll think. So it's on a waitlist approach. Both have a very, very attractive and healthy waitlist. And I think that will give us the numbers. The numbers are beginning to kick in. Epify has scaled up more than Jupiter because Epify was about 2 months earlier than Jupiter. So been able to scale up. 2 quarters down the line, I think we'll be able to kind of give a little more texture to it. The profile of the customer coming is obviously also important. These are the salaried millennial, the so-called digital natives. The ones who kind of depend on the mobile and work through the mobile. So that's also an important aspect of this partnership.
Sure.
Can I just add? For long I've said 2 things, right? One is digital at the core, human at the core, and second is branch-like, distribution heavy. As you know, we haven't added a single. In 5 years, we've added 20 branches or something. And
right. Correct.
My aim is, as many as our branches give, that many or more our partners will bring in per day.
Okay.
So we're doubling our network. I want the bank to have a feed of 1,250 branches should feel like 3,000 branches. That's what we're working on.
Fair point. And right now it is not really about cross-sell, right? It's just about getting access to those customers.
Cross-sell will be 6, 9, 12 months away as the base builds.
Sure. And the second question is on gold loan. Now, can you pinpoint any particular reasons why, across the board there's stress? We are seeing restructuring, NPAs going up. Is it because of, let's say last 1 year when we've seen a lot of growth here, it's probably to a relatively weaker customer profile? Or is it because of the, LTVs which went up to 90? Can you, just...
Multiple things, Abhishek. One is just the sheer impact of COVID, which has killed everybody. Second is LTV coming down. Third is gold price falling, right? So a bunch of stuff. So ability to service. And fourth is, at least us and I think many other good, well-meaning banks and NBFCs have chosen not, because I don't know if many of you may or may not know, in 2013 when the gold prices fell, and I don't plead guilty, but I was the leader of that pack, I said just sell and get out.
Right.
So we were quite wicked with customers. We protected ourselves. That backlash took good 2 years to cure because people said you're good weather friends.
Right.
So this time we've decided to be a little more, I would say, sensible about it and said, fine, if it means in this very, if it was normal times, I wouldn't have allowed that. But these are extraordinary times. We must be a little more sensitive to customers. And we said, let's take that hit in either if they are eligible for restructuring, great. Otherwise, take the hit as NPA and we will cure it in 1 or 2 quarters. At least that's our approach. I can't quite speak for others. But when I've spoken to a couple of bankers, their view is the same.
Okay. And fair to assume that incrementally, even though LTV may be lower, but growth will anyway be cautious. I mean, it won't be like last year.
No, I had not, well before we visualized this problem, I said this year it will be 35-40 because last year grew 70%, right? It is impossible to repeat on a larger base.
Oh, right, of course.
35-40%. First quarter has been flat or slightly degrowth. I expect this year still to see if things pick up by August onwards, still we should see 30% growth.
Okay. And finally, just a quick data keeping question. If you can share the breakup of the incremental restructuring. So you've given the breakup of outstanding. If you could just share the incremental broadly, that would help.
850 crores, 450 crores is retail, 200 crores is gold. Balance is a mix of, business banking and commercial banking.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Shyam. Thank you. And all the best for the next quarter.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Krishnan from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, many thanks. So 2 things. One, around the gold loan portfolio, the ticket sizes have kept going up. I think Q3 to Q1 it's been flat, but otherwise it seems like a 1.4 lakh kind of ticket size. Is that unusually high? Is that something that tells you something about the customer profile there, in terms of how much leverage there is on that portfolio?
Can't quite see it.
Shah?
Yeah, please go ahead.
On the ticket sizes, typically if you benchmarking against some of the NBFCs, the ticket size will be in the range of 40 to 60,000. Some of the other gold loan companies, banks typically have a higher ticket size because the more rate sensitive customers and the larger ones typically flock towards the bank. That's number one. Secondly, we are also looking at targeting a different kind of a customer base and encouraging them given the low cost of funds by way of gold loans and a steady source. So that also has been helping us. So a new segment, plus typically the largest set of customers comes to us. So we do expect that only to remain at these levels. And in fact, some of the customers we are looking at could be in the range of 2.5 to 3 lakhs also.
Yeah. My only point was, could these be more business loans rather than consumption loans?
No, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs is consumption loan, not really business loans because that's a different segment altogether. But the ticket sizes in general, because like I mentioned, they are the more rate sensitive customers also.
Got it.
Also, we reach out, right? Rupeek arrangement is reach out. So you get a different profile also.
Doorstep banking, that helps a lot, and the ticket sizes are still higher over there.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manish Shukla from Citigroup. Please go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. One clarification on restructuring outside of COVID. What would be the restructured book of non-COVID under either RBI SME scheme or otherwise?
Almost nothing, Chief.
Okay, fine. And on the retail side, this time we're seeing higher restructuring in LAP and housing. Could you explain the nature of or demographics or whichever way you see this customer segment? Is this, transitory impact of COVID, or, how do you see the stress in this book? But this is the first time that we are seeing these levels of numbers.
Largely COVID only. And it's the impact of COVID. Now, whether it is lasting or transitory, only time will tell. But the trigger is COVID.
So it's either primarily self-employed or salaried, or how do you?
Our retail book, which is the origination from 2018, is more salaried than self-employed. And if I look at the vintage of restructuring by geography, Kerala is about 50% of the restructuring that we've done of this portfolio, and Kerala is more self-employed.
Got it. That's very helpful. On the digital native and digital acquisitions, right? You mentioned that you would expect the volumes from these sources should be as much as branches. But do you have enough data to talk about the average balances? How do the balances compare between branch accounts and online accounts?
Very early, right? We are sourcing 2 months, 3 months. You can't quite make anything on that, Chief. At least 6 months data I need for us to make that statement. Because if you build 100 crores on this and we have, say, 40,000 crores on the other, hard to tell, Chief.
Okay, fair enough. Last question, Ashok, you said on treasury. For the treasury income of the quarter, how much would be other than bond, non-bond related treasury gains?
I think it's there in the deck. If you see the Q1 FY22, exchange commission brokerage other fee is 161, forex is 41. That's the breakup, and profit on sale of securities 258.
No, so I'm talking about the two. Is that all bond or something else?
Significantly bond.
I'm just trying to understand, and quarter in which rates were largely at or tad higher, you booked treasury gains. Is it largely because of GSAP, or was it something else?
Krishna, you want to answer?
Yeah, it's GSEC and a very small amount of non-SLR as well, but mainly GSEC.
No, I'm sorry. When I said GSAP, the RBI repurchase program, or is it the market? Because was there enough opportunity to trade in the market? I'm just trying to understand the gain.
It's both. GSAP may not be that much, but yeah, you have in the beginning of the year, you have the category transfer. So through that, in the market, the sale has been made and all. So it's a mix of all.
Understood. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mahesh MB from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Just one question from my side. The restructuring that you did on the retail side, can you give us some color on what is the kind of restructuring you have done? Let's say in housing or in LAP. What kind of benefit has...
450 crores is the restructuring in retail, 60/40 home loan LAP. And I also mentioned the kind of mix between Kerala and non-Kerala, salaried self-employed. Sorry, what else is the question?
I'm just trying to understand. You just kind of extended the tenor, reduced the EMI?
Okay. Babu,
Yes, sir. It is within the permitted tenor of 2 years, and where banks are given the decision-making process depending upon the requirement of the borrower to give a moratorium up to even 24 months. But generally, the demand is only for the 6 to 1 year moratorium, which we have considered based on the requirement of the customer. Otherwise, the tenor extension is running only up to 2 years.
And this book will be classified as restructured till when?
See, 2 year extension in the case of this retail loan extension. The restructured tenor is 2 years.
Babu, that is not the question.
Yes, sir. I'll explain, sir. Maybe this question was previously discussed and sir explained it. In the case of COVID restructuring, the asset classification continues to be standard, and it never falls into substandard if it is not otherwise normally going by IRAC norms, unlike normal restructuring. So COVID restructured book will continue to be in standard.
See, I would further add to that. If you see from the last 3 years, our quarterly investor presentation, you would find that we used to earlier also give a detail of the restructured standard together with securitization receipts and all. Now that
Correct.
amount gradually depleted and became, materially unimportant and all. So similarly, this restructured standard would continue to remain restructured standard because once it is restructured, it has that tag. Now the thing is, when the amount becomes materially smaller, and at the same time, I think the installments are paid and all, and the principal amount also falls. And thereafter, probably there may not be any need to specifically mention about it. But as long as it is an important number or so, it would continue to be presented transparently quarter after quarter. It would continue to be called as restructured standard.
Sorry, I just was under the assumption that if 25% of the longest tenor is paid, you can then subsequently declassify it as restructured.
No, Mahesh. No.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Dama from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and good evening, sir. So first thing on, so is it possible for you to, hello?
Anand, your voice is breaking.
Yes, sorry. Sir, is it possible for you to share the SMA1 and the SMA2 book?
I think the overall number we've shared, and it's flattish. I don't know if you want to carve out 1 and 2 and share at this point in time. If you've not done it so far, I will not do it just now.
Okay, so quarter on quarter, will it be flattish, is it?
Yeah. In fact, I said at the end of July 23rd, as of today, when we completed our board presentation, it even improved from June 30th.
Okay, sure. And so secondly, that we were interested at some point of time into acquiring a microfinance company, and there are some microfinance players who are in trouble and would be looking at exiting. Someone basically even close to home. So would we really look at some kind of opportunity on the microfinance front? Secondly, there are portfolios also available on the credit card side. So would you really look at some kind of inorganic organizations in these portfolios?
Microfinance, we remain interested, but last 2 quarters and as we speak in the last few months, we haven't looked at any. Many offers did come up, but we said we want to see how the COVID impact plays through. We are hearing things are improving in July, so maybe we will watch for this quarter. Nothing on hand. On credit card, the only publicly available big name, we were interested, but they are not, so that's not an option.
Okay. So basically, is it that the portfolio is different than what we want to build in? Something to do with that?
Sorry, I lost you.
So what kind of portfolio basically will really interest you when you are actually looking at a credit
Microfinance,
card?
we are still interested. If I can get microfinance folios or companies that are good and have weathered the storm, certainly we are interested. Basically, I don't want to take up something and then add to the problems when we've just sort of nicely dealt with the challenges on hand. So we don't have the appetite to deal with a new problem. So as we keep clearing out, we will be interested.
Sure. And so is it possible for you to share the asset quality details of the FedFina as well? How the NPA ratios are trend or restructuring?
If you back out the 2-3 names which they have taken advanced and sorted that out, the portfolio is looking similar to Q4 last year.
Okay.
It's just 3 accounts which total to 12-13 crores or 15 crores. The portfolio is looking quite good right now.
In FedFina?
Yeah, I'm talking of FedFina, yes.
Okay. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rakesh Kumar from Systematics Group. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity again. So just a small question. Is there any overlap between the externally rated corporate advances, triple B and below, of 11% and the restructured book or the SMA book? Is there any overlap?
Means the question is the restructured book carrying any of the corporate rated low? Is that what the question is?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thankfully, our restructured book in corporate is very marginal, just 2-3 names, chief.
Okay, so means there is no overlap as such actually with SMA also.
Yeah, SMA may be there.
Okay.
SMA may be. But SMA and corporate is anyway low. Thankfully, our corporate book,
it covers that, Shyam. It covers that, and the amount is fairly insignificant. Neither the SMA2 or the restructuring, both of them put together is an insignificant percentage.
Okay.
Our corporate book is performing, I should be very careful when I say these things, but they are performing very well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Samir Bhise from Axis Capital Limited. Please go ahead.
Samir is circled back.
Yeah, hi. Just one quick bit on the credit card piece. What proportion of the customers would you think won't have a card right now from the bank's base?
We have a universe of close to 60-70 lakhs that we can pursue in our base. I don't know, maybe. Nilüfer, Shalini, would you be able to give any kind of color on that?
Yeah, Shyam, if you look at our credit, Shalini here, if we assess this against our credit criteria and look at, the various criteria we take into account, our sense is, and the initial round itself, we should be able to get about, out of the, if you take debit cards, for example, 80 lakh debit cards, it's a good indication that, about 10% of that should be eligible for a credit card. That's typically the ratio we've seen and what other, banks have also experienced. But that is the pre-approved direct offer. There will be then a further set of customers who can go in through a non-pre-approved route, which means we do certain credit assessment for them. And then there is a set of customers who are eligible for what we call a secured card. The NR customer portfolio, etc., is eligible for a secured card. So I think the 3 components are fairly substantial in that sense. But the first kind of approach we've had is for the pre-approved 3-click offer. And that's typically the ratio of, about 1:10 on the debit card side. So if you have 80 lakh debit cards, you can typically expect about 8 lakhs of credit cards, eligible.
This is useful. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to Mr. Anand Chugh for closing comments.
Thanks everyone for joining us on the call this evening, and have a wonderful year ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Federal Bank Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines.